Am I the idiot for not donating my bone marrow to my birth father? I, male 17, am adopted. My birth parents weren't able to care for a newborn and I ended up in foster care because of it. I was adopted by my family when I was 2. I have a very happy life, one I likely wouldn't have with my birth parents. About a month ago, my birth parents got into contact with my family. Long story short, my birth father is sick and needs a bone marrow transplant. They are on a wait list but haven't heard back just yet. I am the only child they ever had and odds are I am a match. Pretty much they wanted my parents to get me tested and then donated my marrow to him. My parents told me that it's up to me and after some thought I said no. I don't know them other than they gave birth to me. They have had no part in my life whatsoever and now they suddenly need me. Well, they send my parents a nasty message saying they can sue to force me to donate my marrow. I do feel a little bad but I feel like this isn't my problem. Am I the idiot? Hey Reddit, sorry right after I posted, I went to the store with my mom. Just wanted to clear up some things I read in the comments. I'm a boy but flattered some of you think I'm pretty enough to be a girl. I have no contact or anything with my birth parents. From what my parents told me, I was put into foster care when I was less than a month old. That is how they got me and they decided to adopt me, which was finalized when I turned 2. I have 4 siblings and I have a great life. They told me when I was old enough that I am adopted, but outside of that I had no idea who my birth parents were or what they even looked like. Someone said I should do it because what if I need medical information, want to get to know them, or something like that? Yeah, no. I have no desire to get to know these people. None. I have no desire to seek out grandparents, cousins and uncles. I don't want to know if some form of rare cancer runs in the family because they are not my family. I haven't spent 17 years of my life with them. Why would I want to get to know them? Edit for those of you who keep saying, you should reconsider it. How about you donate to him? My parents told me to think about it. I thought about it, and the answer was no. No. I'm not doing it. That's it. Morning Reddit. It's early, I'm getting ready for school while typing this. Read more comments this morning and again let me clear something all. My egg and sperm donors didn't lovingly give me up. I was taken. My parents don't know the exact reason because that information was never released to them. They were told, and I quote, "It wasn't a good environment for a child." I was taken. Even if they had given me up, it doesn't mean I owe them anything. Not like I asked to be born like every freaking child on this green earth. If being born means I am suddenly in debt to them, I would have been the slowest sperm you have ever seen. I would have happily raced into a sock. Y'all can be a bunch of hypocrites. In one breath you say there are kids in foster care who need a home. Well, I was a foster kid who was given a home by 2 loving parents. Then in the next breath you are saying, what about your family? I have a family. They have raised me for 17 years. Medical history? Some very helpful people have privately messaged me to let me know that in 2021, I get all that poop without ever having to speak to these people again. Ever. Amazing how far science has come, right? I'm going to be showing this to some of my friends today cause I have to admit, I'm over it. It's not my problem if this man dies. And again, some people have pointed out in the comments odds are I wouldn't be a match anyway, and he has been lucky getting a donor off the list, and it will be faster than waiting on me to get tested only to be told I'm not a match anyway. And again with those on your hill screaming, well, wouldn't you donate to a stranger? I donate blood mostly because it gets me out of PE class. I like donating blood. If someone receives that blood, then congratulations. I put no more thought into it besides that. Even if they had come to my parents and said, hey, you adopted our son and well, we need a favor. Sorry to ask, blah blah, my answer would have still been no. I did my own research and found plenty of stories of kids who were used like gold mines for their genetic materials by their parents to save their siblings or a family member, and that is all they were to their families. Someone who had the right match. I don't owe them anything. I don't care if she spent 8 hours in labor with me. They aren't my family. I have a wonderful family who are supporting me right now. Also, my parents are working on finding how the hell they even knew where I was cause my adoption was a closed one. They had their rights terminated when I was taken. They shouldn't know poop about me. I don't know if they are contacting a lawyer or anything. I know they are pretty upset about all of this. I have to get to school. Later. Now for a few comments before the update. Not the idiot. I donated bone marrow to my sister 5 years ago. It was no small thing. I had complications with the surgery, couldn't walk for 2 weeks, etc. It was really, really painful. I was going to give you sort of a pep talk about doing it anyway, since you would be potentially saving a life, even if it's the life of a complete stranger. That was until I read the line about how they threatened to sue you to force you to donate. Comment 2. Not the idiot, how dare they threaten you like that? They gave up all rights to you at birth and are now still not wanting a relationship, just for you to undergo a medical procedure to save his life. Way to go, guys. They could have asked to meet you so they could plead their case, but they went nuclear. Ignore them. Comment 3. You're the idiot, and let me tell you why. Your birth parents made a difficult decision when they couldn't care for you as a newborn. They reached out to your family because they are in desperate need of a bone marrow transplant. You are their only hope, their own flesh and blood. But instead of showing compassion and empathy, you're heartless and self-centered. You claim that you owe them nothing because they didn't raise you, but they gave you life. The fact that you're not even willing to get tested shows a complete lack of humanity. And to top it all off, you're arrogant enough to compare yourself to children who were used as gold mines for genetic materials. Your situation is completely different, and you know it. I hope one day you realize the gravity of your decision and the impact it has on another person's life. Now for the update. I know this is long overdue. I started college, life and COVID put things on hold for a bit. Long story short, I didn't donate the bone marrow. My birth parents started harassing my family on the regular. Texts, phone calls, letters, showing up at places, resulting in calls to the police. They were arrested. My adoption had been closed. They used some shady private investigator to find me and basically just showed up on the doorstep demanding my bone marrow. My family did press charges. As of right now, as far as I am aware, they are still sitting in a prison cell while they wait for their day in court as things are still delayed due to COVID. I guess my sperm donor's illness wasn't that serious, or he got a donation. I don't know. Anyway, I just thought I would update this old post. I'll answer questions if you have them. That's it. Edit. Someone asked why I was taken. Honestly, I still don't know the full story, nor do my parents. They said they asked but never got the full answer. The answer they told me was someone called the police and told them to do a welfare check on my sperm and egg donor, complaining they constantly heard a baby, aka me, crying. Drugs may have been involved, which my parents think so. I was placed in foster care and from there I was adopted. Why did they find me? My father feels they wanted money and the bone marrow story was a lie. We only based this off of the fact my sperm donor seems fine. We don't know if he got the bone marrow from someone else or whatever, but we think the story was made up in order to harass us and get money from my parents. We aren't rich. Just middle class. My mom has her business / stay-at-home mom while my dad is an electrician. Did I ever sign up to donate bone marrow? No. I did not. I'm not comfortable with that, but I still donate blood. What about genetics? I haven't gotten tested for anything yet. Other families? I don't care. During that time, someone reached out to me on Facebook claiming to be an aunt. I didn't reply to the message. Comment 1. My dad gave his brother marrow once. Now their DNA matches on testable levels, meaning if his brother decided to lead a life of crime, my dad could be blamed on DNA evidence. Comment 2. All the people who said, "Just give him some marrow, he's family," were freaking delusional. You did the right thing by ignoring them, since they were obviously unhinged. Your new family sounds amazing and I hope you're doing better now. Comment 3. For your information, it's pretty unlikely that you would match your dad. When my dad needed a bone marrow transplant, they didn't even bother testing my siblings or me because of how low the odds are. Siblings are likely to match each other, but usually not parents and children. Either they were chasing something like a 1 in 200 chance, or they were just using it as an excuse to harass you. Now, for the next story. Am I the idiot for calling my girlfriend selfish for refusing to learn sign language? My daughter Ruby was born mute. She can understand words, but we use sign language to communicate. While she can use her phone or write, obviously she prefers to sign. The issue is my girlfriend, Amanda. We've been dating for around 9 months, and introduced our children around 3 months ago. They don't know sign language, so communication with Ruby was awkward at first. She hates having to write or use her phone at home. So I taught Amanda some basic signs beforehand, and I've continued teaching her and Mia more in this time. Mia is getting a lot better actually. But Amanda has apparently decided it's too hard and refuses to learn anymore. She says that it's unnecessary since Ruby can understand her and communicate in other ways. While Ruby is usually willing to do that for them, she doesn't enjoy it and finds it frustrating. I told Amanda she's being selfish and lazy. That it's not fair to put all the effort on Ruby. It's one thing if she doesn't get it after years, but it's only been a few months. It's just ridiculous. We got into a fight over it, and she basically called me an idiot and said it's not her fault she struggles with it. But that doesn't mean just give up. If she wants to be in our life, it's the bare minimum effort to put in. I clearly think she's just being selfish, while she thinks I'm an idiot and unfair. I vented to my brother, and he agreed with Amanda. That I can't force her to learn and not everyone is good with language. And that Ruby doesn't need it, and I'm coddling her. I'm honestly still pissed off, but I do love Amanda. She's normally thoughtful and kind, and I guess it's possible it's just me being overprotective of Ruby. I think it's a reasonable expectation, but I'm starting to doubt myself. Now for a few comments before the update. Not the idiot. This should be a deal breaker for you. Then the original poster responded with, I've been thinking it might be. But my brother's reaction made me doubt myself. She's never been like this before, so it took me by surprise. Then someone else commented, your brother is in AH2. Asking for someone that I'm guessing you might see a future with to learn how to best communicate with your daughter is not coddling her, and she does in fact need to be able to communicate, but more importantly in a manner she feels most comfortable with, your daughter I mean. Asking a child to accommodate an adult is honestly one of the more entitled things I've heard. The fact that an adult is saying, this is too hard for me, do it how I want to, is troubling and something you should really consider before taking any further steps with Amanda. Comment 2. Not the idiot. Do you see a future with a woman who point blank refuses to speak to your daughter? Then the original poster responded with, it's not that she refuses, they do have a way to talk. It's just not as preferred for her. Either way, I think it's wrong. I was already thinking it was worth ending it. It's just my brother and her got in my head and I worried I was crazy. Now for the update. I want to thank everyone for the advice and responses. I definitely don't agree with everything, but I can see both sides. First, I do want to clear up some stuff. I'm not sure why so many people act like I sprung it on Amanda. I never said I did, and I certainly didn't. I told her up front about Ruby and was clear that I expected a partner to be willing to put in the effort for her sake. Also, I never criticized Amanda for not being fluent. I had no expectation it would be easy or quick. Hell, I struggled at first. I've never insulted her or had issues with her progress. My only issue was that she refused to try anymore. While my words were immature, it was only after she basically said it wasn't worth learning sign language that I got upset and said it. I find the idea that it's too soon honestly strange. Wouldn't it be worse for us to be engaged or married before I know if she's willing to put in the effort for my daughter? I don't expect perfection, just for her to try. I understand that Ruby needs to be able to communicate in other ways. She has to go to school. But that doesn't mean she should be forced to stay at home. Besides all this, I did consider our relationship serious. I love Amanda. With that aside, I think it's mostly been resolved. Amanda came over and apologized for how she acted. She explained that she had been trying to hide how much she was struggling, and got frustrated seeing how quickly Mia was getting it while she understood nothing. Basically, Amanda was seeing how quickly and effortlessly I was getting close to Mia, and was feeling like she was useless with her lack of progress, especially knowing how important it was to me. We had a long talk about it. I apologized for my immature reaction and explained that it was always non-negotiable for me. And I brought up that if it would make her miserable and resentful, it may be better to separate. Amanda did not like that, and we talked about our relationship and expectations. I considered it serious the moment she met Ruby. While Amanda didn't see it quite the same way, she knew she wanted me in her life and understood that meant she had to try with Ruby. Amanda has decided to find her own professional teaching. She thinks it will be better for her frustration to show there than with Ruby or I. I'll keep teaching Mia, because she really enjoys it. It doesn't matter whether she is fluent, as long as she's trying. I know Ruby will appreciate the effort. For now, Ruby will still have to use other methods to communicate, she was anyway, but hopefully one day she won't have to. Unfortunately, my brother stands by what he says. He said that even though Amanda has given in, it was still unfair of me. That I'm lucky Amanda is willing to put up with it. I've honestly lost a lot of respect for him with all this. I don't understand how he can think that about Ruby and I. Still, overall I'd say it's gone well. Thanks for the advice, whichever way you lent. I think we'll be able to get through it. Comment 1. Interesting dilemma. I get where you are coming from and where your partner is coming from. It sounds like you resolved it. You are going to have to be very patient, as this sounds like it's going to take a long time for your partner to achieve though. Comment 2. Why does Ruby have to use different means of communication at school? There should be an interpreter if she needs it. In any case, let your GF know that it's always going to be easier for a younger kid to learn something than it is for her. But sign language works best for adults when they learn in a physical classroom over online. Look into your local community college or deaf community to see if there are classes. Then the original poster responded with, I think she technically could. But from what the school has said, this works better in terms of her learning, since she can understand and will need the skills in her life and whatnot. I'm not an education expert, admittedly, so maybe I took their word too quickly. For the rest, I will do it. That makes sense. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day. Am I the idiot for ruining my kid's life after she ruined a dress? My ex, 31, and I, 32, male, had C, 16, female, way too young. We're friendly co-parents. One big rule we share is if our daughter breaks something, she pays for it. Now my sister, 27, and I are the only grandkids. And never married. Instead, she worked with GMA and GPA at their Seams Tri-store, and took it over when they retired. Sis's girlfriend, 29, proposed last year. GPA offered to make Fail a custom suit, which she was over the moon about. GMA had me ask Sis what her dream dress was and record the convo. Sis, thinking it was just between us, told me in great detail what her dream dress was, though said it was way too expensive, so she would get something much cheaper. Well, a few months later, GMA surprised Sis with her dream wedding dress. It fit perfectly and everyone cried. Sadly, GMA recently passed away, which hit us all hard. Sis was devastated, but decided that the dress meant GMA would still be there with us at the wedding. The issue comes in with C. She's very large, much larger than Sis. 3 days ago, we decided to go visit Sis and see how she was doing. It was great, but then C asked if she could try on the dress. Sis politely said no. C made a face, but dropped it. Later, we decided to go grab dinner. Sis and I went to pick up our orders, but C decided to stay and play with Sis's dog. We got back, and the dress was destroyed. C had apparently tried to get it on, popping some seams, and got stuck. Instead of waiting for help, she cut her way out. The dress was hacked to bits. Sis was devastated and asked us to leave. I grounded C, and called Aunt with some pictures, asking if it could be saved. She said there was no. She said she'd make a new one, but it wasn't the same. Then she dropped the bomb on me. GMA had hand-sewed most of the dress, used super expensive fabric, and put almost 500 hours in making that dress, since it was the only family wedding we'd have. In total, the dress cost $12,000, give or take. C has about $15,000 saved from various jobs, as well as winning writing competitions. This was supposed to help her in college. I took her to the bank and set in motion transferring all the funds, since as her parent I still have control over it. $12,000 to Aunt to pay for the new dress. $3,000 to my sister's wedding, as an emotional distress tax. I explained exactly why this was happening to C, but she sobbed the entire time, asking what she was supposed to do for college and saying it wasn't her fault. I told her she could get a job if she didn't get a scholarship, and it was her fault for trying on the dress after she'd been told no, and for not waiting until we got back. A few pop seams could have been fixed. Hacking the dress to pieces couldn't. C told my ex, and while she agreed C was in the wrong after the full story, said I shouldn't have ruined her future for a free dress. I reminded her of our rule, and she still thinks I'm wrong. So, am I the idiot here? Edit, since people are mentioning they don't understand the $3K, that was to make up to my sister that C destroyed the last gift our dead grandma ever gave her. I consider that part of the price of destroying the dress, since even if Anne remakes it, it's lost a great deal of its sentient value. I pointed out how young we had her because I wanted to explain how a 31-year-old has a 16-year-old kid. I do not resent having her, she's the best thing I've ever done. I also brought up C's size because Sis has Crohn's disease, and thus is very tiny. The dress was made for her size, and C is much larger than Sis. I love C as she is, but she has a 16-year-old kid. but just holding the dress up, it was clear it wouldn't fit. The character count is very limiting. Edit 2 to clarify, the money was C's. Have fun at college. Money, not her college fund. My ex and I are paying for whatever scholarships don't. When she was asking what she would do for college, she was asking what she'd do for fun and to buy things we didn't pay for. Again, the character count is very limited, so I had to cut details to post. Edit 3 So, I got off the phone with my ex about 20 minutes ago. At some of your suggestions, I sent her the pictures, and she freaked. She apparently didn't believe me when I said it had been hacked apart, and believed it was just a few torn seams. She was pretty much on my side after. She told me that she spent the day badgering our daughter, asking her why she did what she did, and finally she cracked and said she was mad that grandma was alive to make her a dress, and that it was unfair. My sister got a free beautiful dress as a reminder when my daughter got nothing, despite the many things she was given after the funeral. She tried it on, took it off when the seams popped, and then in anger hacked it apart. If she couldn't have a dress from grandma, no one could. Her own words. Honestly, knowing she did it on purpose has just made things worse. The fact that she could be so cruel, that's not the daughter we tried to raise. She will be going to therapy, whether that's in person when local therapists start taking new clients again, or on one of those apps people have mentioned. We need to talk about it more. Her punishment stands as is, though we're going to see how therapy goes. As for all the seamstresses who have reached out, please know I'm touched by your kindness. I really am. My aunt is going to see if she can incorporate at least some of the fabric from the old dress into the new one, maybe at least try to save the beading, but if there's anything usable I'll reach out. I appreciate all of your offers, you're incredibly kind people. I have yet to talk to my sister, but I have talked to her fiancé. Sis isn't doing well. The stress has caused a Crohn's flare-up, so she's stuck in bed sick. Honestly, I'm not surprised. Crohn's is often triggered by stressful events, so I was expecting it. I told my fiancé about and making a new dress, and she promised to take the remains over to Aunt on Monday. She's thankful for us addressing the issue, but has asked for some space from sis so she can recover and heal, and hopefully not end up in the hospital. As for the 3K, we'll see what my sister's state is in a few days. If she has to go to the hospital, then the money is forfeit for her medical bills, since it was C's selfishness that put her there, so she can pay for it. If sis does not end up in the hospital, then I'll consider giving it back after she's gone to therapy for a few months, if she's accepted what she did was wrong and worked to make amends. We'll see what the next few months bring. That was a long one, but you won't want to miss the update. Before we get into that, here are a few comments. Not the idiot, absolutely not. She ruined her own future. In my mind, that dress wasn't $12,000 or even $15,000, it was priceless. It could have and should have been passed down for generations. I'm horrified your daughter did such a thing. Most kids don't go to college with savings, so she's just going to have to tough it out. I hope she looks back one day and realizes the payment she made was severely short. I am so sorry this has happened to your family. Comment 2. Not the idiot, I'm on the fence about the punishment as that is a lot of money. However, would that even be a question if it wasn't the family that made the dress and sis would have to pay $15,000 for a new dress from a shop? Probably not. I'm very confused as to why your 16-year-old would even act in this way. Is it a habit? Does she have a history? Trying the dress on, I can see a teen doing that. It ripped? Bad, but not the end of the world. Completely cutting it open, however? That's insane. Now for the update. Hey everyone. It's been a long time, and a lot of things have happened. I think it's finally gotten to the point where I can post an update that many of you asked for. I'll do the shortest update to the longest update. The dress, many of you reached out and offered to try and help, and I'm so thankful to you. I couldn't respond to everyone, but thank you so much. As some of you suggested, GPA used pieces of the original dress to make accessories for my sister to wear, and she loved them. She'll still wear some of the hair ties for special occasions. My aunt was able to make an almost perfect replica of the dress for the wedding, so while it wasn't the same, it was close. My sister, she did have to go to the hospital to treat her Crohn's flare-up. It was terrifying, and since she was immunocompromised, she did catch C19. I was so scared I was going to lose my baby sister, but thankfully she pulled through. She is now finally married to her wonderful wife. My ex and I tried to have C pay for the hospital bills, but my sister refused to take the money. They do have good insurance, luckily. Sister-in-law was still pissed and torn about having C at the wedding, but my sister insisted. C wasn't part of the wedding party, but she was still invited and joined their special day. While it's not forgotten or really forgiven, my sister is willing to move on, at least. Finally, C. I think seeing her aunt so sick did help kickstart C realizing how wrong she'd been, since it was a domino effect of her actions in the first place that started all of this. She herself admitted in therapy it was her jealousy over having to buy a wedding dress in the future instead of having one made for her like it was done for my sister. She does still struggle with her anger at times, but it is getting better. It turns out she used to get all her anger and aggression in sports at school with her friends, which is why she seemed so calm all other times. But being in lockdown just forced everything to build up in an unhealthy way. Still not an excuse for what happened, but at least an explanation. As I said in an update last time, my ex and I are paying for college for whatever scholarships C doesn't get, so at the time taking the $12,000 for the dress seemed right. I still stand by that. But after seeing how much she's worked on herself and on trying to repair things with my sister, I have given her back the $3,000 that my sister didn't take for hospital bills. She's also been working with my aunt and GPA 1 day a week as well as editing others' essays to build back up her fund money. I matched 50% and gave it to her when she graduated. She started college in the fall with a few scholarships and is continuing therapy. Things are still tedious with her and my sister, but they're working on it. C has been trying hard, showing she really is sorry, and is trying to fix things. I still think we have a while to go, but we'll get there. Comment 1. Just read your original post, OP. Your daughter must be 18 by now. I really hope she's developed the right toolkit to continue her journey into adulthood. That kid you're describing sounds entitled and mean, but it was nice to read she had enough self-awareness to name her own traits. That was all-round heartbreaking and I think you handled it well. I genuinely hope C has learned a lesson, but I don't believe that empathy can be learned. Comment 2. You're the idiot. Seriously, what kind of parent are you? You're punishing your daughter for a mistake she made as a teenager. Taking away her college savings? That's beyond cruel. And let's not forget the emotional distress tax you imposed on your sister's wedding. Are you trying to ruin relationships and make everyone miserable? Your daughter made a mistake, yes, but it's not the end of the world. Instead of teaching her a lesson and helping her grow, you're destroying her future and causing unnecessary pain. You need to reevaluate your parenting approach and find a way to resolve this without resorting to such extreme measures. Your daughter deserves support, understanding, and a chance to make amends, not this vindictive punishment. Comment 3. Honestly, I think you should press your sister to take that $3,000. It really just sounds like your sister is being a bit of a pushover about this cause she's just trying to move on, and she knows that you and your ex will still try to pick up the slack for your kid. I'm glad that C is starting to put in the work to improve, but what she did is unforgivable and just so horrible. I don't see how this relationship could continue or improve without your sister having to forgive and forget. Now, for the next story. Am I the idiot for pulling out of planning my sister's wedding, causing her to lose her venue? As a wedding planner who has been in the industry for many years now, my, male 31, party trick amongst close friends and family is being able to guess how long my clients' marriages will last with pretty alarming accuracy. If you ask anyone in the industry, there are specific indicators while working with a couple that allow us to be able to gauge compatibility. I can usually get down to around the 6-month window when predicting when photos of each other will disappear from socials. This is not me taking joy in crashing and burning relationships. Working in this career field can actually leave you feeling jaded about relationships in general, which is why I'm reluctant to work for friends and family. The specific stress wedding planning puts on some people/couples can bring out the worst in them that you don't see in everyday life. My sister is getting married early next year and practically begged me to plan for her despite my stance on clients I know personally. I finally gave in and we began the process back in March. Last week, while we were meeting and finalizing a few things, she asked me about the party trick I mentioned. She said since I had been working with her and her fiancé for months now, I could give my prediction as to how long they were going to last. I laughed and tried to move on. I thought she was joking, but she continued to press the issue. After her continually bothering me about this for at least 15 minutes when I'm trying to move on, I do have work outside of my specific appointment with her that I needed to get to. I finally told her I thought they would last forever. She claimed she didn't believe me and wanted my real number, so I shrugged and told her the truth, 1.5 years. She was livid. I felt incredibly uncomfortable with the whole ordeal, especially with how little she respected my boundaries in what is supposed to be a professional setting, and just tried to usher her out of my office. Instead, she began ranting about my own marriage and said she gives us until the end of the year before we break up, and accused me of being a homewrecker. She finally left, and I emailed her saying I would no longer be involved in planning. I gave her the contact information for all of the vendors we were working with, but told her the venue would no longer be available as they only booked to people they have existing relationships with and my involvement was necessary. I have had to break up with clients before, but this felt particularly rough. She has now told our parents that I am purposely sabotaging her wedding, and that I was unforgivably rude to her when she just asked a playful question. I feel very silly for letting a person disrespect my boundaries over and over again, something I typically wouldn't tolerate. But now I'm wondering if I'm in the wrong. Am I the idiot? There's no update, so here's a few comments. Not the idiot. She pushed. You gave a perfectly acceptable answer of, forever. To which she didn't like that and wanted a real answer. But what would she have been happy with? 20 years? 10 years? It sounded like she was a constant boundary pusher. You didn't want to plan the wedding, but she pushed it. You didn't want to answer the question, but you pushed it. This is on her. That said, don't expect your family to see it that way. They probably will take her side because people enable shitty behavior from brides. Good luck. Comment 2. Everyone sucks here. I think you should stop playing this party trick with anyone. Even if you're accurate, it's not a nice thing to say about people. You could have avoided this whole scenario if you never played mental games with people's lives. Now, of course your sister is an age for pushing and pushing, but you should never have told her the truth. Comment 3. Not the idiot. You told her you didn't want to plan her wedding, and she badgered you into doing it anyway. You didn't want to tell her what you thought the relationship length would be, and she harassed you into telling her anyway. She then threw a tantrum at your place of business, which could be very damaging to your business and your relationships with other clients and vendors. Am I the idiot for banning my sister from ever seeing my daughter again? I, male 36, got married 12 years ago, and my wife and I had a daughter, Rebecca, female 10. My sister, Lindsay, never really liked my wife, and I had to put some strong boundaries in place. It was not a good time, and Lindsay really hated my wife more since she said I was choosing my wife over family. Well, 2 months ago my wife's father got really sick, and after a long talk we decided that she would go take care of him until he passes away. That's the last of her family. We thought he would move in with us, but he wanted to go home. So my wife packed her stuff and flew across the country to him, and is his full-time caretaker. He probably has a month or 2 more. When Lindsay heard about this, she made a comment at dinner when Rebecca was at the table that my wife had abandoned her. This was the last straw, and I went no contact with her. Rebecca really loves her aunt though, and it's been hard. Rebecca wants to hang out with her aunt, and I have refused to let her. I work from home, and yesterday around lunchtime I couldn't find her. There is a note in her room saying she went to have lunch with Lindsay. I was furious and tracked Rebecca's phone, the first time that has ever happened, and they were at a restaurant. I got there as fast as possible and grabbed my kid. I told Lindsay she will never see my daughter again. This started an argument, and I literally walked out halfway through. Rebecca the whole time was crying, and I asked for her phone. She gave it to me, and I deleted her aunt's contact information and told her you will never be talking to her again as long as you are a minor. She was crying even more. I told my wife, and she thinks I did the right thing and has been on the phone with Rebecca a lot since it happened. I have been fending off calls from all my family calling me a jerk. I need an honest option since Rebecca and my family sure think I am awful. Now for a few comments before the update. Not the idiot. Your sister took a 10-year-old out of her home without informing either parent. She planned it in advance and likely asked your daughter to keep it a secret from you. And people are calling you a jerk? What if you didn't find the note? How many times could this have happened before? In the future? Definitely not the idiot, and shame on anyone who tells you otherwise. Comment 2. Not the idiot. But please have a gentle discussion with your daughter. Right now she thinks you are being mean and barring her from seeing her aunt for no reason. Explain your initial reason in a way she can understand. Then tell her how scared you were when you did not know where she was. That her aunt taking her somewhere without your permission was really wrong. Right now there is a strong chance if your sister showed up again your daughter would go with her. Your daughter feels she is being punished and kept from her beloved auntie for no good reason. You have to make her understand that what the aunt said was unacceptable. Maybe tell her it is not permanent, even if it is, but aunt has to be on timeout essentially. And now that she took your daughter like that, it proved you cannot trust her even more, so now she needs a longer timeout. Do whatever you can to explain and make her realize if she does go with her aunt again, the aunt will be in serious trouble, and that will make it even longer before they can truly hang out again. Right now, if she goes with her and she sees it as she has nothing to lose but will get to spend time with her. Now, for the update. So it has been like 2.5 weeks since all this happened. Thank you to everyone that responded. So after this whole mess, me and my daughter traveled to where my wife and her dad are. We are all going to stay there until her dad passes away, and I have a feeling it will be soon. He is not doing well. Rebecca is still kinda upset that she won't see her aunt again, but having her mom around really helps. My wife and I discussed it for a long time, and we decided to make a paper trail about what happened, so all that happened is now on record. My family kept blowing my phone up for a bit until I told them she is lucky I didn't call the cops. They got quiet for a bit, and according to my cameras, showed up at my place. It took them a while to figure out we left to be with my wife. Now Lindsay, yesterday it must have sunken that I wasn't joking, and she called so many times and I gave in to see what she had to say. It was a long apology on her end and asked if she could see Rebecca. I told her no, that she needs to stay away, and she crossed a huge boundary. She asked if she could talk to my wife, so I put her on speaker. Lindsay then apologized to my wife about what she did. My wife was quite brutal and basically said if she really meant it then stay away from them. At the moment, Lindsay won't be seeing my daughter again for a bit. If she does stay away, then maybe she will see us on Thanksgiving and Christmas. If she doesn't behave, then probably won't see my kid until she is 18. Again, thank you to everyone for the good advice. Edit, she knows why, it was explained. Still, Lindsay was a huge part of her life. It's like when you have a friend that is great to you but she is awful to others. I can be her friend since she is nice to me and ignores what that friend does to others. Comment 1. I really think you need to explain to Rebecca why she can't see her aunt. Explain the sequence of events and constant abuse toward her mother. If you don't, she will only get her aunt's version, and will likely keep seeing her once she turns 18. Then the original poster responded with, "We did explain it to her, she knows in child-friendly terms. A lot of what she did is not suited to be heard by a young kid. There are a lot of bad blood/other stuff, she knows the basics, especially what happened in the post. When she is older we will explain in more detail. She is having trouble due to Lindsay being a huge part of her life and she lost her. She still misses her and is dealing with Lindsay wasn't a good person to mom/me, but she was good to her. That since she was good to me, why can't she be around me?" Comment 2. Make sure you explain to Rebecca why you don't want aunt around her, i.e. she took her without permission, which scared you in a major way, breaking your trust, and was saying bad things about mom that weren't true just to upset her and make her upset with mom. She may not understand the full scale of the kidnapping now, but in 10 years, she is going to look back and be horrified that you had to be patient and understanding for her missing someone that literally kidnapped her after telling her that her mom abandoned her. Now, for the next story. Am I the idiot for telling my brother why I don't talk without my father? I, male 32, do not have a good relationship with my dad, male 59, the reason being the pressure he put me on. If I had anything less than a 90 out of 100, he would be disappointed at me and tell me I was a failure, and I would never be anyone in life. I still remember him and my mom, female 59, fighting. She always defended me saying I was doing my best, but he would always scream that my best wasn't enough. When I was 12 I got 83 out of 100 in a math test, and I freaked out. I remember coming home crying. Thankfully my dad was at work and I begged my mom not to tell my dad. I guess seeing a 12-year-old boy freaking out for a grade that even the teacher thought was great was enough, and my mom divorced my dad. I believe that was the moment he understood he screwed up and tried to apologize. My mom always wanted me to have a good relationship with my dad, and I would stay with him one weekend a month. At 16 he had my brother with my stepmom, and I had to see the same man who called me a failure to be the best dad to my brother. At 18 I cut my dad and his family off with the exception of my grandparents and my uncle. 1 year ago my grandfather passed away, and at his funeral I saw my dad and his family. My dad briefly looked at me and then turned his head down in shame. My uncle came up to me. He said he understood if I did not want to talk to my dad but asked if I would talk with my brother. I said yes and I met with him outside. We had a great conversation and in the last year he has met my wife and children, and we have a good relationship. A few days ago, my brother asked why I didn't talk to our dad. I told him what I wrote here and more. In the end, I told him our dad wasn't good to me, but that did not mean he should stop talking to him. Yesterday my uncle called me and said my brother and my father fought because of what I shared with my brother. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Childhood trauma is very hard to move past because it happens in our formative years. I know this from personal experience. You weren't trying to cause problems, just explain why you do what you do. I had the same kind of talk with my brothers about 20 years ago. Not the idiot. Comment 2. Not the idiot. Your brother asked, and you answered truthfully. You told him that your relationship with your father shouldn't affect him. You're not responsible for your father's past actions. It was probably hard for your brother to hear that, and face his own disappointment towards your dad because he had a different experience. That is just something your dad and your brother are going to figure out how they're going to get through in their relationship on their own. Now for the update. So, a few people have advised me to talk with my father and reconnect with him. I won't do that. It's hard to explain. Although I don't hate him, the trauma is too much for me to handle. I talked with my brother. He told me he fought with our dad because he believed what our father did to me was unforgettable, and my brother blames our father for never having a brother. I told him that I will always be his brother no matter what, and that our father has learned from his mistakes. My brother asked them why didn't I forgive him, and told him what I wrote here. They are talking again, so overall this went better than what I expected. Comment 1. My heart goes out to you, OP. Info. How old were you when your brother was born? What's the age gap? He mentioned not having a brother, so was he too young/baby when you hit 18 and left? Then the original poster responded with, I was 16 when he was born. Since my parents divorced, I would spend a weekend a month with my dad, so from 16 to 18 I saw him sometimes. Comment 2. I'm sorry people are pushing you to reconnect with an abuser. That's abuse in and of itself, and you don't deserve that. Hold your ground, that helps you heal. Now, for the next story. Am I the idiot for telling my fiancé my daughter has to be in our wedding? I, male 45, have a daughter P, from a previous relationship. I divorced my ex-wife on good terms and we share 50/50 custody of P. She is now 11. After I divorced my ex-wife, I met my now fiancé S. S and my daughter got along very well. After 5 years in my relationship with S, I proposed. S was super excited and wanted to start planning right away. She looked at venues and started asking her friends to be her bridesmaids. She then told me she wanted her niece to be a flower girl, which I had no problem with, but I said I also wanted P to be a flower girl. S looked at me funny and then said that she didn't think that P would fit the part. I got angry and told S that my daughter would be at our wedding. S started to become upset and said that the girls in the wedding were up to her and P wouldn't be one of them. I told S that if P wasn't in the wedding then there might not be a wedding. I stormed out and took P to get ice cream. P knows we are getting married and told me she thinks she will look pretty. Whatever dress S decides she should wear. This broke my heart, and I decided to text S. I told her I would be staying with a friend to think this over. My mother-in-law texted me saying I was overreacting and that my daughter doesn't have to be in my wedding, and I was an ass for saying that I would cancel. So did I take it too far saying I will cancel? Am I overreacting or just being a good dad? Now for a few comments before the update. This is a big red flag. If she doesn't want to include her stepdaughter in her wedding, then don't expect she will include your daughter in her life. Comment 2. Not the idiot. Props to you for standing up for your daughter. That's exactly what a good dad should do. Your fiancé is trying to diminish your daughter's role in your wedding. I'd be concerned that'll carry over to other parts of your life too. Whatever bullshit she means by her not fitting the part sends up huge red flags to me too. I have kids, and this would be deal breaker for me. Now for the update. Hey Reddit. Thank everyone for all the kind words and suggestions. To answer a few questions, my daughter is not disabled, chubby, or having an awkward phase, braces/glasses. I did ask if P could be a groomsman. S immediately shot me down. S is 39, she is the same race as my daughter, this is her first marriage. I tried to answer as many comments as possible. I came home to talk to S today. When I pulled in our driveway, my mother-in-law was sitting there in her car. I got out and went inside trying to avoid talking to mother-in-law. S was sitting at the kitchen table and I joined her. She sat in silence, so I asked the first question: why does P not fit the part? And why don't you want her in the wedding at all? Her answer full on shocked me. She quietly said, I was hoping that after the wedding you could become a holiday visit only dad. I didn't want her in the wedding so she wouldn't be in the photos around the house since she wasn't going to be around much. I kept my cool, calmly took her hand, and pulled my engagement ring off. Her eyes started to tear up. She said we shouldn't end the marriage over this and that she can change. I told her the damage was already done. I told her I wanted her things moved out by next week and that she could come get them when my daughter wasn't home. The house is in my name and I paid for it. I was allowing her to get her furniture that she paid for. She stormed out, and mother-in-law came knocking on the door saying I was being unreasonable. I couldn't imagine only seeing my daughter 3 or 4 times a year. The fact that S wanted me to give up part of my custody blew me away. I'm sitting on my couch just in shock. Our honeymoon was supposed to be in Hawaii. Looks like me and P will be going instead. Comment 1. Holy poop. First things first, you are an amazing father. Good on you for having P's back. Second, your ex-fiancée is an absolute witch. Like, how big is her bag? It must be massive to hold all that audacity. She really wanted to take your daughter out of your life and replace it with whatever family you two decided to have. You did well by keeping calm. My anger issues could never. Third, I know it hurts and you're likely in shock, but know that you did the right thing. Surround yourself and P with people who love and support you, and take comfort in the fact you dodged a massive bullet. Comment 2. You are a great dad and you deserve better. It hurts, but better to know now than down the line after you were married. Sending all the love to you and your daughter. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.